Okay, so today we're diving into AI ethics.
Yeah, it's a big one.
It is a big one. We're talking deepfakes,
Yeah.
biased data privacy, like the whole thing. And it's not just theoretical anymore, right?
Sure, not at all.
It's like impacting our lives.
Yeah, and I think what's so fascinating about it is that it's evolving so rapidly that even our ethical frameworks are like, whoa, wait a minute,
Right.
we need to catch up.
Yeah,
And the consequences of not doing so are pretty significant.
totally. I mean, like imagine a world where you can't even trust a video you see online anymore
Right.
because deepfakes can make anything look real.
Absolutely.
Or like an AI system is making a medical diagnosis that's going to, impact someone's life,
Yeah.
but it's biased against certain groups of people.
Those are very real concerns.
Yeah.
And we're seeing these cases where AI has been biased and the outcomes have been discriminatory.
It's kind of mind-blowing. And then there's this whole question of whether companies should be able to just train AI on public data without our consent. They're just like scraping our info, building their algorithms, potentially even claiming ownership over what's created as a result.
Huge gray area,
Yeah,
ethically speaking.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like who owns what?
Like if it's trained on data from millions of people,
Yeah.
who owns that?
Right.
Those are questions we need answers to.
Now, before it's too late.
Yeah.
Exactly. So let's unpack all of this, starting with deepfakes.
Yeah.
For anyone who maybe isn't totally familiar, can you just break down what a deepfake is and why it's causing such a stir in the AI world?
A deepfake is basically, think of it as a video that's been manipulated using AI to make it look like someone is doing or saying something they never actually did or said.
Got it.
And the technology is getting so sophisticated that it's becoming harder and harder to distinguish a real video from a deepfake.
So we're not just talking about like, funny face swap apps anymore.
No.
We're talking about the potential to really damage someone's reputation or spread misinformation that looks totally legit. Or even like, create explicit content featuring someone without their consent.
Exactly. Which is scary. Yeah. The potential for harm is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine a deepfake being used to discredit a politician or influence an election or to even blackmail someone.
Right.
So, the erosion of trust in what we see and hear online is a very real threat to our society.
It is. So it sounds like we need some pretty serious safeguards in place.
Yeah.
So what are some of the solutions that are being proposed to kind of address these dangers of deepfakes?
Well, there's a few key areas where action is needed. First, we need greater transparency in the algorithms that are being used to create these deepfakes.
Okay.
So if we can understand how they work, we have a better shot at being able to detect them and expose them.
Makes sense.
Second, we need clear accountability frameworks.
Yeah.
When a deepfake causes harm, who's responsible?
Right.
Is it the creator?
Yeah.
Is it the platform where it's shared?
Right.
These are complex legal questions that need to be sorted out.
For sure.
And then finally, we need to think about the intellectual property rights of the creators, whose work is often used to train these AI systems.
Right.
Are they being compensated fairly?
Yeah.
Are their rights being respected?
Yeah. That's a lot to consider.
Yeah.
And we haven't even touched on AI bias, which I think is particularly worrying in areas like your healthcare and criminal justice.
Yeah, I mean, if an AI system that's being used to, make medical diagnoses is trained on a biased data set, that could lead to misdiagnoses for certain groups of people or, recommend different treatments based on factors like race or gender.
It's like you go to the doctor hoping for an accurate diagnosis.
Right, yeah.
And the AI that's, helping your doctor could be working with flawed information.
Exactly.
And in the justice system, right? Like, imagine an AI tool that's used to predict the likelihood of reoffending, but it's biased against certain demographics.
Yeah.
That could lead to harsher sentences or even wrongful convictions.
Yeah.
Basically amplifying the inequalities that already exist.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crucial to remember that these biases aren't, intentionally programmed into the AI.
Right.
They often reflect existing societal biases that are present in the data the AI is trained on. So if the data is skewed, the AI is just going to learn and perpetuate those biases.
So the problem isn't just the AI itself.
Right.
It's the data that we're feeding it.
Exactly.
Which makes me think about this whole issue of training AI on public data without consent.
Right.
Like if our data is already reflecting these societal biases and that we're using that data to train AI, are we just creating this vicious cycle?
Yeah. That's a valid concern.
Yeah.
And it raises the question of, is it even ethical to use public data for AI training without explicit consent?
Right.
Would companies be allowed to scrape our social media posts, browsing history, even medical records to train their algorithms?
Right.
And if they do, who benefits from the output?
And who owns the output? Like if my data contributed to, the creation of a new piece of AI-generated art or music,
Yeah.
do I have any claim to that?
Right.
Where do we even begin to draw the lines?
These are really complex questions, and our current privacy laws are really honestly struggling to keep pace with how fast this is all happening.
Right.
AI,
Yeah.
we need to rethink how we protect individual privacy in the age of these powerful algorithms.
This brings up such an important point for like all of our listeners out there.
Yeah.
Do you feel comfortable with your data being used to train AI without your consent?
Right.
Where do you stand on this?
Yeah.
We want to hear from you.
Definitely.
Hit us up on social media at AI for the people with the hashtag AI ethics. Let's get this conversation going.
Yeah, let's hear what you think.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
just the beginning.
it is just the beginning.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more on AI ethics.
Don't go anywhere. So welcome back to our deep dive into AI ethics.
We've been unpacking some pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Deepfakes, biased data privacy. And it's clear that, this tech is raising a whole bunch of ethical questions that we just can't ignore.
No, absolutely.
And as AI becomes more and more integrated into our lives like it is now, those questions are only going to become more pressing.
For sure, for sure.
One thing that I keep coming back to is this tension between like the potential benefits of AI and the potential risks.
Yeah.
It feels like we're walking this tightrope.
Yeah, that's a key insight, right? Because it's so important to remember AI isn't inherently good or bad. It's a tool.
Right.
And like any tool,
it can be used for good or for evil.
Exactly.
It depends on who's wielding it.
Exactly. How we choose to use it.
So it's not about like, stopping AI development altogether.
Right.
It's about making sure that we're developing it and using it responsibly. With, careful consideration of all of these ethical implications.
Yeah. I mean, we need to be having these conversations about, ethics and values from like the very start of the design process, not just as an afterthought when things go wrong.
Exactly. And those conversations need to include like a wide range of voices.
Oh, for sure.
Not just, tech experts and policymakers, but also like ethicists, social scientists, community members.
Yeah.
Like the people whose lives will be directly impacted by these systems.
Right. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. We need to make sure that we're, getting out of those echo chambers and making sure that the development is guided by, a broad and inclusive set of perspectives.
This brings to mind this idea of covert control.
Yes.
That we see, popping up in a lot of this material.
Yeah.
Which sounds kind of ominous.
Yeah.
So what does that actually mean in the context of AI?
Well, it refers to the possibility that these AI systems are influencing our decisions and our behaviors in ways that we might not even be aware of.
Okay.
So it's like this subtle nudge.
In a particular direction, but we don't even realize we're being nudged.
So it's not necessarily someone like, intentionally trying to manipulate us.
Right.
It's more like the unintended consequences of algorithms that are designed to keep us engaged, addicted even, and maximize profit.
Yeah, exactly. Those algorithms, they might not have malicious intent, but they can still have a significant impact on our choices and our actions without us even realizing how they're working behind the scenes.
Right. So this raises this whole other level of concern around, AI and our freedom. Like if we're not even aware of how these systems are influencing us, how can we truly, exercise our free will?
That's a big question.
It is.
And I think it underscores the need for greater transparency and accountability in how we develop and deploy these AI systems.
We need to be able to see how these algorithms work.
Yeah.
And what data they're using to make decisions.
Because if we can't even understand the logic behind the output, how can we trust it?
Exactly. And we also need mechanisms for holding the creators of these systems accountable for any harm that they cause, whether it's intentional or not.
Yeah.
So, if an AI system leads to discriminatory outcomes or violates someone's privacy, there should be consequences.
All of this talk about, AI ethics and responsibility makes me wonder, are there any real-world examples of how we can get this right?
Yeah.
Like, are there any success stories out there that give us hope?
I think there are some encouraging initiatives that are emerging.
Right.
One example is this concept of explainable AI or XAI.
Okay.
This field is all about developing AI systems that can actually provide clear explanations for their decisions.
So instead of just getting like a recommendation from an AI,
Right.
you would also get an explanation of how the AI got there.
Exactly.
Like a peek behind the curtain.
Exactly. It gives us a better understanding of the reasoning behind the AI-driven decisions.
Okay.
And, if something seems off, we can investigate further.
So that would, in theory, help us build more trust in these systems.
Absolutely. If we understand how they work,
Right.
we're more likely to, accept their recommendations.
Okay. Another development that I've been reading about is this movement for like participatory AI.
Yes.
Can
Love this.
you explain that a little bit?
So participatory AI emphasizes the idea that we need to be involving stakeholders in the design and development of AI
Right.
from the very beginning.
So it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier, bringing, diverse voices to the table.
Absolutely.
And making sure that everyone's perspective is considered.
Exactly. And so, by engaging with communities
Yeah.
and incorporating their feedback, we can ensure that AI systems are aligned with, human values.
Right.
And they address the needs of the people they're intended to serve.
Yeah.
So it's about making sure that AI works for everyone, not just a select few.
Okay. So it's not all doom and gloom.
No.
It sounds like there are people actively working to develop these ethical and responsible AI solutions.
Yes. There's definitely a growing awareness of the importance of AI ethics, and we're seeing a lot of creative and innovative approaches emerging. But it's an ongoing process.
Of course.
And it requires constant vigilance and engagement. We can't afford to be complacent.
So where do we go from here?
Yeah.
What can our listeners do to, be a part of this conversation and help shape the future of AI? It feels like such a massive issue.
It is.
How can we as individuals actually make a difference?
That's a great question. Well, first and foremost, I think it's about staying informed.
Okay.
Read about the latest developments in AI ethics.
Mm-hmm.
Engage in these discussions online in your communities. Support organizations that are working to promote responsible AI development.
Yeah. Like anything else, we can't change what we don't understand.
Right.
So educating ourselves is key.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask questions. If you're interacting with an AI system, ask how it works.
Yeah.
What data is it using? How are decisions being made?
Mm-hmm.
The more we demand transparency and accountability from the companies and organizations developing AI, the more likely we are to see those ethical considerations prioritized.
So it sounds like we all have a role to play in shaping this future
We do.
of AI. It's not just up to the, tech experts and the people building it.
Exactly.
We all need to step up and participate in this conversation.
That's right. The future of AI is in our hands.
I love that.
We need to be active participants in shaping this technology to ensure that it serves humanity and not the other way around.
AI for the people, by the people.
Exactly.
The powerful message.
It is.
And it's one that we need to keep amplifying.
Absolutely. The more voices we have in this conversation, the better equipped we'll be to navigate these ethical challenges and make sure that AI is used for good. It's about collective action.
Yes.
And using our voices to advocate for a future where AI benefits all of us.
It's incredible to think how much we've covered
in
this deep dive into AI ethics.
It's a lot.
It is. Like we barely scratched the surface, but we've already unpacked so many complex issues.
Yeah.
And it feels like every corner we turn,
Yeah.
there's like a new ethical dilemma.
Well, and that's the nature of this field, right?
Right.
It's constantly evolving and changing.
Right.
And the ethical considerations they have to kind of evolve right alongside those advancements.
Totally.
So it's a dynamic landscape.
It is. One thing that's really struck me throughout this conversation is that a lot of these, ethical challenges that we're talking about aren't new.
Right.
They're like reflections of existing problems in our society.
Yeah.
But they're just being amplified or even like exacerbated by technology.
That's such a good point. I mean,
Right.
take bias, for example.
Right.
We've been grappling with systemic bias in human decision-making for centuries.
Right.
AI isn't creating bias.
Right.
It's making those biases more visible and, in some cases, automating them
Right.
in ways that can have serious consequences.
Which makes it even more critical that we address like the underlying societal problems.
Yes, absolutely.
Like if we're feeding biased data into an AI system,
Yeah.
we're just going to get biased outputs.
Yeah, garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This brings us back to, the importance of having diverse perspectives
Yes.
involved in developing AI.
Right.
Like, if the teams that are designing these systems are homogenous, they're less likely to recognize or even challenge their own biases.
Diversity of thought, experience, background
Yes.
is absolutely essential.
Yeah.
We need people from different disciplines, different cultures, different socioeconomic backgrounds, different lived experiences contributing to the conversation.
Totally.
That's how we create AI systems that are truly representative and work for everyone.
And speaking of, working for everyone,
Yeah.
we have to acknowledge that not everyone has equal access to the benefits of AI.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's a real risk that, this technology could worsen existing inequalities if we're not careful.
100%. We need to be really mindful of that potential for AI to create a digital divide,
Right.
where those who have access to the latest technology have a significant advantage over those who don't.
Right.
And that could lead to, further marginalization and exclusion,
Right.
which would be a huge step backward.
So it's all about responsible innovation.
It is.
We need to make sure that AI is being developed and used in a way that benefits society as a whole.
Right.
Not just the people who can afford it or who happen to be, in the right place at the right time.
Exactly. We need to consider the potential impact of AI on jobs, education, healthcare, like every aspect of our lives.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just, celebrate the amazing things that AI can do.
Right.
We need to also anticipate the potential downsides
Mm-hmm.
and develop strategies to mitigate those risks.
Before it's too late.
Yeah, before it's too late.
It's a lot to consider, but I think these conversations are crucial to have now.
Absolutely.
While the technology is still, relatively young.
We have a chance to get this right.
Yeah.
To steer AI in a direction that actually benefits all of humanity.
So let's ramp up this deep dive with a call to action for our listeners.
Yes.
What can they do to get involved and help shape the future of ethical AI? What can they do today to make a difference?
Well, I think first and foremost, stay informed.
Okay.
Read articles and books.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to podcasts.
Like this one.
Like this one. Attend conferences and webinars, engage in discussions online.
Right.
The more you know about the ethical implications of AI, the better equipped you'll be to advocate for responsible development.
Knowledge is power.
Exactly. So let's empower ourselves and each other.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to have conversations about these issues with your friends, your family, your colleagues.
Right.
The more we talk about AI ethics, the more we raise awareness and make it a priority.
And remember, you can always reach out to us here at the Deep Dives.
Yes, please do.
We're always happy to hear from our listeners and to, engage in these critical conversations.
Absolutely.
We're all in this together.
We are. Right.
We need diverse perspectives.
Yes.
And collective action to ensure that AI is used for good.
Absolutely. The future of AI is not predetermined.
Right.
It's up to us to shape it in a way that benefits humanity.
Let's get out there.
Yes.
Start those conversations.
Let's do it.
And make a difference.
Make a difference.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into AI ethics.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been a really thought-provoking journey. And we hope you'll continue to explore these issues.
Yes.
Make your voice heard.
Absolutely.
Remember, smash that like button.
Yes.
Subscribe to our channel.
Do it.
And join the debate online.
Yeah.
Let's shape the future of AI together.
We'll see you next time.